Hi and welcome to another video from wptoolkit.com. Today I want to take a look at using social signals for SMO or social media optimization. Social signals such as Facebook likes, shares and comments, as well as Google+, tweets and repins are now all considered as important by Google for deciding how popular and authoritative your site is. In other words, the more social signals your site and content gets, the better you're going to rank in Google, bringing you more free targeted organic traffic. And in fact, if we take a quick look at this graphic showing what Google considers important for ranking your site, we can see that 6 out of the top 7 criteria are social signals. Backlinks are still in there at number 3, but those social signals are actually outweighing the importance of backlinks. You still need them, but you need those social signals as well to get that free, quality, targeted traffic from Google. Now, I've tried literally dozens of different plugins to help get people to like and share my content over the last few years, and one has consistently outperformed all the others for real results. Now, it's called Monarch from Elegant Themes, and it is a paid plugin and costs $89 per year for unlimited sites, but in a moment I'll tell you how you can get it for free. Monarch covers both areas of what you need for your site, both social sharing and social following, with over 20 social networks available, and I'll show you the difference between those two in a moment. But first, let's have a quick look through how easy it is to set up this plugin and start getting those all-important social signals for your site. Once you've installed the plugin, it will appear here under Tools as Monarch Settings, and the first thing we need to look at is Manage Locations. Now, the sidebar is a floating sidebar which looks kind of cool as it always stays on page as a visitor scrolls up or down. In my experience, it doesn't tend to get used as much as the other formats though, so you can choose as many of these different locations as you want, including all of them if you want. Then we have inline, which basically means above or below our content, our blog post itself. Now, I found below tends to work better as people are more likely to share just after they finish reading your post if they like it. Now, automatic pop-ups and fly-ins, yes, they're irritating, but yes, they're very, very effective. There are lots of settings in there so you can change how they're triggered, how often they appear, and tweak them to get it just right for your visitors, to try and get the right combination between irritating and effective. Okay, so there's lots of options there. And the last one there, media. This is something you don't see in many plugins. This allows us to have sharing icons on top of videos or images, which is really good, partly because it's unusual, so it does catch people's attention, but also good quality images and videos do tend to get shared more, so having the icon directly on them can make it even easier and more likely for people to share. Next, we need to set up our social networks, and you can do this for both social sharing and for social follow, and they don't need to be the same. Let me explain the difference between the two. Social follow is where you're trying to get people to follow your social media accounts. So you're trying to get them to follow your Twitter account, your Facebook account, your Google+ account, etc. Social sharing is where you're trying to get them to share your content on their Facebook account or their Twitter account or their Google+ account. Okay, so there's a distinction between the two. You should be using both to get the maximum benefit, but you can use different networks for each one if you want to. Now, to add a network, we simply click on the Add Network button, ignore my RoboForms, and just choose the individual networks that you want by ticking them and clicking on Apply, or unticking them and clicking on Apply. They will then appear in this list here. If they're not in the order you want, just drag and drop them so that they appear in whatever order you need. You do have the option to change the description that appears for each one, and Twitter has an extra option where you can put in the name of your Twitter account so that when someone does go to tweet your content, it will append @ and your Twitter account name so that that's included in their tweet, which can get you more attention and get your account more followers. Then we have the different options for the different locations. I'm not going to go through absolutely everything on here, but I'll cover some of the more useful ones. First up, you can choose your icon style, and we've got some quite a few different variations there. Play around with those, find the one that you prefer, the one that suits your blog and your theme the best, and obviously you can vary them between the different locations as well. Now then you have things like where the sidebar is going to appear, left or right, whether it's going to slide, whether you want to display the share counts, and a minimum number. So let's say it's a new blog post and it's not had very many shares yet. You might want to say, well, don't display the number of shares until it's over 15 or over 10 or something like that, to make sure it doesn't appear with lots of zeros. Okay, so that can be quite useful. You can also decide whether to display the total shares or not. And more importantly here, you can change the color settings to get it to look just right for your particular theme and your colors for your theme. You also get to choose where this actually appears, whether it's on the homepage, post, pages, projects, questions, etc. And then simply click Save Changes at the bottom, and we'll go on to inline to have a look at this. Remember, inline is basically where we're going to have the icons appear in our posts and possibly pages as well. So you generally choose above or below. You can have above and below if you want. I tend to go for below. That tends to get me the most shares, but experiment with your site. Your visitors may be different. And one of the points here, if I scroll back up a moment, there is an icon here which will take you to stats, so you can actually see what is working best for you and for your blog and for your visitors, and make sure you tweak things to get it exactly right to get the most shares. So again, more options here: display post count or the share counts, display totals for the total number of shares, network names, remove spacing between the icons, hide on mobile devices. If you're going to have the sharing options in lots of different locations, then you may want to switch some of those off for mobile, so that they're not so someone looking at your site on a mobile device isn't swamped with different social sharing icons. Okay, so that can be quite useful. I've got it switched on for mobile devices on the posts, but I think I've got pop-ups and fly-ins switched off. And again, you've got the option for color settings and whether it's posts, pages, home, etc. Then we have the settings for pop-up and for fly-in. They're both fairly similar, and the main point here is to define how your pop-up or how your fly-ins are triggered. So for instance here, I'm triggering it after someone has scrolled 25% down the page, and that's the only way in which it gets triggered. You could have it after a time delay and you put in the number of seconds, or after someone's been inactive on your page for a certain amount of time, and again the number of seconds, trigger at the bottom of the post after commenting. As you can see, there are lots of options. There are also options on the kind of animation that it uses when it appears. Now that you really do want to have a play with and see what you like, and use some different ones to see what reaction it gets from your visitors, because some of them really do catch people's attention. It's a very good way of grabbing someone's eyeballs and making sure they do what you want. The number of columns is also available there, and whether it's centered, left or right. And again, scroll down, change the colors if you want to, decide where it's going to appear, and click on Save Changes. I will point out that although we've ticked this for posts, you can overwrite the settings for any of these within individual posts or pages. So if you only want the pop-up to appear on, if you want it to appear on most of your posts, and then there's a couple where you don't want it to appear, you can switch it off for those individual posts. That comes back to part of why this particular plugin is so good. It gives you total control and flexibility, but it's still really, really easy and intuitive to set up. So here I am on the fly-in rather than a pop-up, and I've got different triggers for this. I've got it triggered after inactivity, or at the bottom of the post, or after commenting. Again, there's another setting here that is worth using, where you can actually change how often the plugin or this particular fly-in appears. So we can have it just appearing once per session, and decide that's just every day or every week or every month, etc. That way it will stop it becoming too intrusive to your visitors. I'm not switching that on at the moment because I'm in creating this video, and I do want them to appear. Okay, so again, you can decide whether this doesn't appear on mobile devices, remove the icon spacing, all sorts of things. You have total control. And the last location type is on media, which is basically deciding whether you want the sharing icons to appear on your pictures, your images, your videos, things like that. I've chosen a different icon shape here so that they stand out a little bit more. And again, you have some basic settings so you can choose to vary the colors and things like that, whether they appear on posts, products, etc. Let's go on to the social follow settings. And again, as I mentioned earlier, this is where you need to add your networks, your own social networks and sites that you want to have people follow you on. Again, you can decide on what the description is that appears. You then put in your URL, and you'll notice I've got ticks next to most of these, but not next to Google+. Some of them, if you tick the option for get counts via API, it will work out, it will go and find out that information from the relevant site for you. Google doesn't do that, so you need to manually type in, as you do with many of the other networks. If I click on add networks, many of these you will need to actually type in the number of followers that you have manually. But some of them, if you tick the option for API, it will work out for you and display automatically, which cuts down the work we need to do. Again, choose which ones you want, add them, remove them, move them up and down, do whatever you need to do to make it appear exactly how you want, and then scroll down. This is where you put in your API settings for things like Twitter and LinkedIn and YouTube. They're all pretty easy to do. LinkedIn is the most difficult, but that took me about 5-10 minutes tops. Twitter takes about 2 minutes to get set up, and YouTube is about 20 seconds because that's just the URL, the number of your channel. That's the API key for that. So very, very quick and easy to set up, but it is obviously a different set of networks to your social sharing because these are your social media sites that you want to get people following you on. You also have the option for widgets, so we can actually set these up to appear in our sidebar, and there's some settings there. And shortcodes, you can actually generate a shortcode so you can put this wherever you want in any post, on any page, in any of your content. And there are also some general settings. But let's go and have a look at what it looks like on our site itself. And the first thing you'll notice is over on the left we have a floating bar. If I actually scroll up or down, you'll see that that stays on the page wherever we are. Then before we scroll down, we've also got our widget over here, and you'll notice that's a different set of social networks, as I said, to those on our sharing bar. This is for social shares. This is to get people to follow our social network sites. And you can see, because of the API integration, it's showing the number of followers I've got for each of those, except Google Plus, where I put it in manually. I think YouTube, it hasn't picked it up yet. It probably will at some point. I've only just put that one in. But let's scroll on down and go to a blog post itself. Okay, so let's go for get traffic without content and have a look at this post. When it comes up, the first thing you'll notice is we do have our social sharing icons on the left, and we've still got our widget on the right, but we now have the social sharing icons appearing on the image itself here that we've got in our post. Now, as someone mouses over this, it will grab their attention because that's quite unusual, so it will help encourage people to share. Now, if I actually stop doing anything on the page for a moment or two, hopefully after 2 or 3 seconds, there we go, our share this fly in zooms in, because I had that set up to automatically appear after 5 seconds of inactivity. Because I wasn't doing anything with my mouse, I was probably just reading the site or something like that. That zoomed in from the right hand side with one of the effects. Again, you can change the effect, you can decide which side it comes in. All those sort of options are available. Now, as we continue scrolling down the page, once we hit 25%, up pops our pop-up. Now, these are considered irritating by a lot of people, but they are very, very effective. It's probably the best way that I've ever found of getting people share your content. What you can do to stop it irritating people too much was back in those settings with the option to set it up per session, so it only appears to a visitor once a day, once a month, once a week, whatever it may be. That will cut the irritation down, especially for your regular visitors. Now let's scroll on down and see the last one, which is the inline social sharing, which is down here where I've got my 4 columns set up, basically the same buttons as here, but with the names. And this was the option that we had for appearing at the bottom of the post. It can equally appear at the top of the post or both. Okay. So as you can see by now, Monarch really does cover every aspect, every angle of getting your visitors to share your content and to follow your social media sites, your social media profiles, to build those for you as well. all of which goes to increase those all-important social signals for Google to get you higher page rankings and more free traffic. Now, I did mention earlier that Monarch is a paid plugin at $89 per year for unlimited sites, but we've been able to take advantage of the licensing for Monarch to include it in the WP Toolkit membership. So our users get the latest version included in their membership at no extra cost. And that's just one of the dozens of premium plugins and hundreds of premium themes included in WP Toolkit, along with hundreds of tutorial videos covering all aspects of setting up and using WordPress and getting the traffic that you need and increasing conversions, making it a true one-stop shop and resources membership for any WordPress blogger. Check it out for yourself to see how you can benefit from a WP Toolkit membership. Thanks very much for watching.